Hey guys, it's TWETV here, and I'm bringing you guys another YouTube video. I know it's been a little bit, but I wanted to break down something that I feel like everyone kind of struggles with, at least from what I've seen, like different communities, and I've seen like people on TikToks and stuff like that. But I just feel like it's such a concept that once you break it down to where you only you can understand, don't get lost in all the terminology, is what I'm trying to say. I always preach to people that there's not a real golden strategy that, a lot of people perceive that there may be something like that, or maybe a specific way of trading. There's no 100% accuracy in the market. It's just not out there. I feel like a lot of programs, courses try to sell that to a certain degree. But I just wanted to put out there. So like, for example, here I'm marking out market structure in a higher time frame, right? I found the high and the low as it, obviously shown there. The biggest thing I want to point out is we tapped the 4-hour demand, right? And ultimately, what are we looking for? In the market, I'm a big preacher in reactions. So I'm looking for a reaction. So here we have a 15-minute demand, right? Yeah, it bounces off of it. Beautiful. If you happen to notice on the left side of it, there's like a supply, right, that the market reacted to and then, escalated to the upside. So that kind of validates that this demand is accurate, but we're not going to just take a trade right off the back of it. Never, ever take a trade right off the back of it. Like when the first sign that it may go in your direction. A lot of people look at that magical word chalk, change of character. They're immediately ready to hop into a trade. That's where you basically blow your account, or you basically just start having more bad trades than good trades, and obviously the good trades, you want them to outweigh the bad trades. So right here, we're basically looking for data to prove that, okay, this is actually happening. This is actually working. Now, for example, here, it now reacted to our 15-minute demand, right? So it's creating that order flow that we want to look for. It's showing proof that this is working. This is actually something that, okay, maybe we can start looking for a trade, right? That's totally what you want to look for. I mean, it's not rocket science. You're just finding proof to your thesis, because ultimately that's what everything is just a thesis until you can prove it, right? So with that being said, right, we see that reaction, beautiful. We had that supply that had a reaction, then the demand was formed when it blew through it, right? So now we can safely say that, okay, this demand is what we can look for. Obviously, we want to highlight liquidity. Where would that liquidity be? Because it's no point in taking a trade if you can't even see where the liquidity is. Personally, that's just my personal viewpoint on it. So, all right, so we got to ask ourselves, what exactly do we see? We have liquidity here, right? We have inducement here, which is just liquidity. It's just last minute liquidity before your entry. Then we have what? We have sell side liquidity up here. So we have sell side, buy side, and inducement. It swept the buy side and inducement, right? Tapped into it, beautiful. It's kind of, bouncing back and forth. It didn't hit our break-even point. Definitely news. Okay. It's not always going to be like that, but that's just news, right? And okay, it's going to the upside here. Now, that's just our little bit of liquidity, right? To a certain degree, we could look at it as, okay, these are just different TP points, maybe even points where we could take partials off of. That's how I look at liquidity. Liquidity should be viewed as points where you can ultimately take partials, right? Maybe even set alarms. So I'm kind of highlighting even liquidity all the way in the back here. We can view this as, okay, when the market breaks these different points, we can do one of three things. One, take partials. Two, move your stop loss to entry, right? So now you're in a risk-free trade possibly. Or 3, you can obviously move your stop loss, higher, trailing your entry, your trade. You can definitely trail it if you really want to. I relatively don't like to do that just because you're running the risk of news getting involved and that's like if you're taking a swing trade or if you're trading around news. I mean, that depends on a lot of things, but I relatively don't take that third option. I usually just do the first and second option, which is partials or moving your stop loss to break even. Now, the biggest takeaways that I would take from this video is, number 1, don't get lost in the terminology. So POI, supply demand, imbalance, fair value gaps, it's all the same stuff. It really is to a certain degree. They're all points where you can take a trade off of or maybe find where order flow is present. Number 2, the market's not just going to move randomly. No, there's a particular reason for every point of interest, POI, whatever you want to call it. There's 100% a reason. So this horrendous drop to the downside. Maybe a lucky seller got in there and, just made their day, flipped their account. It is possible. But news is involved. That doesn't just happen, That's just how you should look at the market. Everything has its own particular reason, and it moves naturally. The market's going to give you so many signs on what will most likely happen next. So look at the market. It's all probability. Nothing's 100%. It's all probability. And our job as a trader is to look for what is that probability. So, for example, here, I actually wanted to break this down for a second because this is a 15-minute demand, right? Market tapped into it. Yeah, we know this. It's present. But why? We got to ask yourself why. That's part of back testing as well. Oh, well, beautiful. It has a supply. It's obvious to us, right? A lot of people are immediately like, well, Fabian, there's no demand. We're not looking for a demand. We're looking for an imbalance or a fair value gap. Or, I'm not even going to sit here with the terminology, but there's a transaction. That is considered a transaction. What is a transaction? A lot of people used to, look at it as like, oh, it's a chalk. Well, not necessarily. They were just looking at minor structure and they were just hopping on, hoping to God it would go in their direction. But a transaction is between a supply and demand, and you see basically both of them reacting to each other, and it's presenting to you which one is dominant. So in a lot of the trades that I just showed you here, right? Oh, wow. That was definitely a swing trade. But we had a supply. Market slowed down when it got to it. It reacted, but it still eventually pushed through it. So that would tell you like, okay, that means demand is in control. Now, if it was the other way around, if the market, let's say, pulled into a demand, it reacted to it, but then it blew through it. It dropped to the downside. Then that would tell you that supply is in control. So the beautiful thing about this is we're seeing a constant reaction, constant order flow, right? And our job is to find out who's in control and what is the highest probability. Yeah, guys, if you need extra help, we have an elite bootcamp. It's starting back up in 2024. You're free to sign up, and we're also passing challenges. So if you need any info, check the link in my bio. Stay profitable.